Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. So today I just want to do a reintroduction to my comic book called Ed Kills the Dead. So for everybody out there who has been following me or is new to my comics and is curious about the story and basically the origins behind the making of Ed Kills the Dead, I just thought I'd do a fun little video just to kind of bring everybody up to speed about what's going on and just kind of do a quick explanation on how this originated. And I thought I'd make this a fun video just so everybody can kind of get an idea on how everything started and how it all started. And this kind of makes up for a really fun, interesting story. So to get things going, let's get this started. So I just want to basically introduce myself. So anybody watching this for the first time, my name's David Gerard, and I've been doing this cool comic book that's a horror based with zombies and monsters. So everybody kind of knows that already, but I just wanted to kind of delve into the story and kind of go back a little bit and rewind the last few years since I've started. And for everybody who's not sure, this whole story started with two people I knew back in the day and whom I'm still friends with. And for everybody out there who doesn't know, my main characters from my story are actually people I know. So my character Ed and my other character Lindsay, who are a father and daughter relationship in this story, they are two people I've become friends with over the years. And funny story is how this started was over 4 years ago. I'm probably a little over 4 years now, but I used to do a lot of commission work for people. So for anybody who doesn't know, I've been doing a lot of wood burnings before I started my comic books, and I did a lot of commission work. And I had one client in particular, her name's Lindsay, and she was a returning client of mine. And one day she approached me about making a comic book based on her dad. But the cool thing about this is that her dad is a big zombie fan. So anybody out there who doesn't know, this is the funny part, is this kind of motivated me. This is kind of like what pushed me to make the comic book, because I've always wanted to make a comic book, but when you're an artist and you're working on commission work, it's hard to work on your own projects that are not paying you versus working on commission work that is paying you. So my challenge was always trying to start a project while doing commission work. And as an artist, you want to tackle the commission work because that's what's paying you. Whereas when you want to do your own project and work on your own comic book, you realize in that moment that you're not getting paid in that moment. So getting started is always the hard part, because you're investing time into making something when you're not sure about the return. So this is kind of like where it got me started. So going back to my story, Lindsay approached me to make a illustration and basically got me to do a comic book based on her dad. So this all started with just a short story. So my idea was doing like a little 10-page comic book, just something short, because again, this was supposed to be a gift. So this is how this started. She wanted me to make a comic about her dad in a zombie story, because he's a big zombie fan, right? He's a big Walking Dead fan, or basically anything horror. He's a big fan of that genre, so which is kind of cool because I am a big fan of horror myself. So it just kind of worked out beautifully. So I thought, well, how coincidental is this? I wanted to make something dark horror related, and Lindsay basically gave me the opportunity of a lifetime to get something done that was very interesting to me as well. So this is kind of like how it started. So I thought, wow, this is fun. So basically, working on a budget, she offered me, an amount of money to get this book. So I thought, that's exciting. I get to finally get paid to make a comic book for a client. So I grabbed this opportunity and I told myself, all right, let's make this good. I want to make a good story. So I thought about it and I said, And then, as far as making a comic book, I had to really decide on a title. I had to decide on not only Ed as a character, but I wanted to pretty much come up with an interesting story. As much as I just wanted to have fun with him just coming in and hacking some zombies, I told myself, okay, there's got to be more to this than just a guy who's slashing, monsters. I had to come up with something more intriguing than that. So I thought, how about we introduce Lindsay in this story, but make her dad trying to find her. So basically his quest is to find his daughter who goes missing. And I thought, well, there's the story right there. And then of course, with the zombies being, the antagonist, that would kind of like set up the story. So that's kind of like how it started to develop. So I kind of started with that idea, and I thought there's something to work on. And on top of that, I had to come up with a really cool title, something really catchy that would grab people's attention. And then I thought, wow, coincidentally, her dad being Ed, I thought, what rhymes better than dead? So I thought Ed and dead. And then it just dawned on me, and I'm like, Ed kills the dead. I'm like, that kind of sounds like kind of cool, actually. It had a really good ringtone. So I kept repeating in my head, I'm like, Ed kills the dead. I'm like, that sounds kind of cool. And I thought, like, people are going to love that. I thought to me, that sounds like a convincing title. Ed kills the dead. So I thought, let's work with that title. So I started photoshopping some designs. I worked with the title on a design program just to kind of see what would look good. And then it kind of progressed from there. And then I thought, wow, I can really work with this idea. But the more I put my mind to it and the more I just went back to the story, I'm sitting there at my desk in the late hours and I'm thinking of ideas just to flesh out the story. And surprisingly, day by day, I just kept getting these new ideas, and I'm like, wow, this is starting to come. It was really starting to come to fruition, and I was like really surprising myself more or less with the amount of investment you put into a story. It's amazing with how much you get out of it when you put your mind into something. So day by day, I just kept getting new ideas, and I'm like, wow, this is really becoming something. So I think it took me about 2 months to develop this book, and I made it a short story. It was roughly between 12 to 15 pages. And then I'm like, well, let's make the covers in full color, because I'm like, I can't just make this black and white. As much as I like my black and white art, I wanted to add some color. So I thought, I'll do my covers in color, but leave the black and white interiors, I wanted to keep the interiors simple and just black and white. And it wasn't so much to alleviate the workload, it was just to really kind of like get ahead with the project. But the more I looked at the pages, and I'm like, wow, this is really looking good as it is. I'm like, I don't want to put color. For some reason, I just wanted to leave it black and white, and it just sat well, and it just felt good. And I'm like, I really like the way this is looking. And then the covers being flashy and colorful, I thought, that'll grab the audience. So I really worked on those covers, and I really wanted to embellish that just to kind of make them pop. Because I'm like, if I'm making this comic book, and going back, this was originally supposed to be a project for Lindsay's dad, who of course is this guy here, Ed. And then I'm like, wait a minute, why just make a comic book for her dad? I'm like, this is crazy. Why don't I make this, like, why don't I go print this and make like 100 copies out of this and sell them? So I thought, man, why not? Like, I'm like, sure, let's do this. So I approached Lindsay and I told her, I'm like, what do you think about making comics and selling them? She instantly just told me, she's like, yeah, go for it. I love the idea. This is like, I think this is a perfect opportunity. And we both discussed it and we both agreed on it that this was going to be a great idea. So we went for it, and I went ahead. I did a short story, and just for fun, I'm going to show you my original comic book. So because he's a huge Walking Dead fan, I wanted to do a little tribute, like a homage cover to the first Walking Dead cover. So again, for everybody new to this was supposed to be a fun project for someone, like for a client of mine. But because it became a bigger deal to me, and I thought this was super important to me, and it just really resonated with me, and this was something I really fell in love with. And I'm like, let's do like a homage cover to the first comic book of The Walking Dead, because I thought like he would love the reference. And going back, this was supposed to be a project for him. So I thought, let's do it. So I'm going to show you here the first original cover. And this is her dad. And this is a homage cover of Ed Kills the Dead. But this is a reference from The Walking Dead of the first issue. So if you pull that up somewhere, you will see the resemblance. But I made some changes, and I incorporated some some stuff that basically pertains to Ed, so he would understand the references behind it. And he really fell in love with this. And then I started to trademark it. So I trademarked my title, Ed Kills the Dead, and I branded it around my product. So I made it David Gerard Comics. I put extreme content just because it's really graphic material. So it's just to kind of warn the audience, the clients. Just, it is dark horror, so I wanted to make it cool. And then it's got the subtitle, Retaliation, and it's got my name at the bottom here. So this was the first homage cover of The Walking Dead, but then I rebranded. So going back, this was a homage cover, but then when I did the reprints, after selling out from this issue, I printed a bunch. I've sold them all within a week. Like, I was surprised with the turnout. So I thought, like, all right, I'm going to reprint these. But when I did the reprint, I branded it to my own thing. And I made it its own thing. And then after doing a second print run, I've sold those over a span of a year. So I've sold a bunch of copies, and I started building a huge clientele. I had a lot of people looking at me like, wow, Dave is the comic book guy. And everybody fell in love with the story. Everybody fell in love with the graphics, and just the audience I was building. Kind of, I wasn't surprised, but I was like, in a way I was surprised too, because I didn't see myself making a huge thing out of this. It just kind of, it turned into this big thing. So I did the first comic book, and then I'm like, and then more ideas came to me, and I'm like, I gotta keep going with this. And then I started getting ideas for a second issue. And then while working on book 2, which I have right here. So that's book 2 right here. It's him on a motorbike. I really stepped up my game, and this turned into a 30-page comic book. And then after doing book 2, I started getting ideas for a third book, and then a fourth book. And now I'm up to book 5, and it's still going to keep going. I'm thinking this is going to be a 10-part series, but again, it could be more, it could be less. I don't know, but I have my end game in mind. I don't know. I know how it's going to end. So I'm trying to flesh out the story so it works well, but I'm really taking my time, and I want to make this as good as I can. And for everybody who doesn't know, I've actually tackled this whole project by myself, and the self-publishing route. So I got a company who's been printing on my comics, and it's really becoming something. And after the first 3 books, I've turned them into a hardcover, which is this one here. So after 1 year, and again, just so people know, this is during the years where we had COVID. So I was really confined. So I had to find an outlet to find I had to find a project. So this kept me busy, and it was great. So I did my first hardcover, and then the following year I started attending conventions. So I did all the local conventions, I started getting into shows, and then I started to increase my audience, and that was where I started picking up, and people are started, I was really becoming more recognized for this. And 4 years later, here I am, I'm still going strong, and I just pumped out my volume 2 edition of the hardcover, which I have shown you guys earlier this week. But I have 5 comic books and 2 hardcovers, and if you look behind me, these are all prints that I've done, posters, and I got issue 2 on the wall. I got the cover from the first hardcover. So I have my little shrine over here, but so the way it started, I didn't anticipate all this, but I'm super happy. I feel like I'm finding my path here, and I'm just kind of running with it, and people are loving what I'm doing, and I'm I'm kind of happy to see where I'm setting myself up, and like I like where it's going, and people are really loving everything, and that's kind of motivating me to keep going. And I love how the story's progressing. Everything is just coming together really nicely, and I couldn't thank you all enough for all this. It's a huge reason is just I'm getting a lot of support and a lot of fans out there who look up to me. All the appreciation, the love I'm getting for my work, it's like I couldn't be more grateful for all that. So thanks everybody for being there and supporting me and enjoying my content. That's huge. It means a whole deal to me, and I couldn't be more happy. And I've been really branding out, so I've gotten t-shirts done. I got posters and prints that I've been selling. It's really becoming this big thing, and I like where it's going, and I hope it keeps going. And because of you guys, I'm still going to keep going. So as long as I keep getting support, I'm going to keep running with this, but I'm definitely not going to stop. And I just want to let everybody know that I couldn't thank you enough. This is amazing, and just wanted to refresh everybody on like how this whole story became, and it's awesome, and I couldn't thank you guys enough. But yeah, thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe and like my channel and my videos, and I'll keep making more videos, so I'll keep you guys in touch with what's going on. Just wanted to get that out and just send a message out there. All right, thanks for watching. Bye.